Clan. Here we go, buddy. Good morning, Minneapolis. Holy smoking Joe Frazier, the Hellraiser, raise hell with the flavor. Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to F with, neither is this blizzard. We're staying inside today. It is Netflix and chill today. That's what we're doing, but we're also gonna do Good Morning Minneapolis as well. Why? Because we can, and we can only do it with your support. Thank you so much for being a monthly member of On-Site Public Media. This is the only way we make this show possible because, heck, not everybody has a job, especially filmmakers right now. So we're happy to be doing this, and we're so glad for your support. All right, today in obvious news, Jupiter and Saturn are in conjunction, and they are closer than they have ever been in 800 years, which is still millions of miles apart, which is still closer than Congress is to understanding the cost of living in the United States. All right, we're gonna start off with the wild and wonderful whites of the Midwest. It's white outside, and it is also very white in Murdock, Minnesota. If you've heard of Murdock, Minnesota, it's because they're in the headlines for an anonymous city council vote in Murdock allowing an all-white church to set up shop in town. However, Murdock, Minnesota is in the headlines today for an entirely similar reason. And like most of Minnesota, Murdock insists that it's not racist. NBC News writes, after permit approved for whites-only church, small Minnesota town insists it isn't racist. City leaders said if they had turned down a Satru Folk Assembly, they would have faced an expensive legal battle. As we've said before in this program, it pays to be racist. NBC continues. When the church doors open, only white people will be allowed inside. That's the message the Asatru Folk Assembly in Murdock, Minnesota is sending after being granted a conditional use permit to open a church there and practice its pre-Christian religion that originated in Northern Europe. Wait, Northern Europe? Are you sure this didn't originate in Northern Dakota? NBC continues. Despite a council vote officially approving the permit this month, residents are pushing back against the decision. Opponents have collected about 50,000 signatures on an online petition to stop the all-white church from making its home in the farming town of 280 people. Whoa. You're telling me that a small rural town in Minnesota of 280 people are doing a really racist thing and insisting that it's not racist? You know, this sounds like a documentary in the making, something that PBS would make. Racism, an old, antiquated practice run by white folks in middle of nowhere, Minnesota. Perhaps a small collective of white folks that hull up in a building and just make really racist decisions, but then swear that they're not racist. Speaking of PBS, we're gonna go back to St. Paul, where some current evictions are happening to unhoused encampments. The Greenway in Minneapolis was just evicted by park police brutally, and they terrorized a large group of unhoused folks, turning them away into winter. Where will they go? We don't know. There are many people that are boots on the ground that are working on this right now and assisting a lot of unhoused folks with hotels, with support, and many other things to make sure that nobody dies this winter in Minnesota due to not having a roof over their head. However, in St. Paul, all of the encampments are facing eviction as we move forward into the winter season. And just recently, TC Encampment Responder posted this. TC Encampment Responder writes, on Monday the 21st, Deputy Mayor Jamie Tinker instructed firefighters to take propane tanks away from the remaining Kellogg resident, attempting to forcibly evict them by taking away their heat source. And Deputy Mayor Jamie Tinker would know a thing or two about the wild and wonderful whites of West Virginia, the original documentary, because Tinker is from West Virginia and is now ordering firefighters to take away the only heat source from unhoused folks in St. Paul, allegedly. If the videos are reporting correctly, that's what we're seeing right now. Leadership in St. Paul taking the only heat source away from unhoused folks on the ground. If you know anybody that knows anything about the encampments in St. Paul, you can go on the TC Encampment Responder and ask them where you can help or do some of the work that Jamie Tinker is not. And as we see another eviction in St. Paul, we've seen Mayor Melvin Carter, yes, the mayor of St. Paul, show up for numerous photo ops as evictions increase and happen in St. Paul. However, Mayor Melvin Carter was nowhere to be found when St. Paul firefighters were taking away heat sources from unhoused folks. Shocker. Moving along, let's talk about the wild and wonderful whites of the West Coast, more particular, Oregon. Just recently, a group of white folks, you could say white terrorists, showed up to the Oregon Capitol and decided to break glass, assault police officers, and break into the Capitol. This comes on the heels of mask mandates and shelter-in-place laws occurring for many people to prevent the coronavirus from spreading throughout the U.S. USA Today writes, protesters clashed with police, smashed glass windows, disrupt lawmakers on unnerving day at Oregon State Capitol in Salem. You know, I love how they use unnerving. There's a lot of other words you could use. Treason, sedition, terrorism. But sure, unnerving. USA Today continues. A special session of the state legislature was disrupted Monday by protesters opposed to policies designed to slow the spread of the coronavirus. Protesters broke glass doors at the largely empty Capitol building, tore tarps from the marble reliefs on the front steps, and engaged in a brief standoff with Oregon State Police and Salem Police Department officers. Police made at least 4 arrests during the 6-hour rally that included more than 100 protesters, including members of the far-right Patriot Prayer Group. Patriot Prayer Group. I mean, just white nationalists, just call yourself the Klan. I mean, how many times do we have to switch this name up? I mean, it's like an AKA of an AKA of an AKA. You guys are like rappers. You got so many stage names. Just call it what it is. Klan. Go ahead. We know who you are. And I want to talk about the 4 arrests. I mean, 4 arrests out of 100 angry white folks showing up to the Capitol in Oregon. That's 642 less arrests than Tim Walz made for folks just marching on the highway to demand fair elections and that Black Lives Matter. That's also 4 more arrests than Tim Walz made when white folks decided to storm the St. Paul Capitol with guns and demand that they don't have to wear masks. You know, this is kind of funny because Keith Ellison threatened a whole women's march if they were to come to the Capitol with thousands of dollars in fines. Well, now we know all you need to be is a white guy from a prayer group with an AR-15. No fines. Actually, speaking of the state capitol here in Minnesota, at St. Paul, there was a little bit of a skirmish that happened this past Saturday with white supremacists, Proud Boys, who knows, maybe even the Patriot Prayer Group. All the same, right? So this past Saturday, those said groups held a Stop the Steal action on the St. Paul Capitol grounds. And a black voter who approached with his camera was not allowed at the Capitol. Yes, I repeat that. In the face of St. Paul police and state troopers, a black voter who is a resident of Minnesota was not allowed on the Capitol grounds. And they all watched as this went down. And to talk about that, you know what? I want to speak with just that black voter. So, Andre, you were at the Minnesota State Capitol this past Saturday. Tell me what happened.
My experience was this. I had done what I normally do. The past 3 weekends, I have gone out there and documented these voters who have turned out at the state capitol in regards to the mandate and election. What had happened was I had gotten out of my vehicle, passed Sears on Rice, noticed the group. I began to walk towards the group, and a gentleman from the group wearing a Trump hat walked over to me, asked me what I was doing. I explained to him that I am a voter. I noticed that the group was congregating outside of the state capitol, wanted to see what they were talking about and what was going on. At that moment, 3 other people walked over, 2 females, 1 male. The male had a backpack on, which had a gun strapped to the back of it. He proceeded to ask me what I was doing there and that I was not welcome to be there. The women at that point asked me if I was BLM media. I identified myself as I am not. I am just a voter walking off the street. See that you guys are congregated. At that moment, I was again called BLM media and told that I was a terrorist. The terrorist comments continued. At that point, the gentleman with the gun on his backpack stated to me that I deserved to be dropped on my head like that guy in D.C. got done by the cops.
Okay, and why didn't they allow you on the Capitol grounds?
They didn't want me on the Capitol grounds due to them stating that this was a private event. However, I had learned of this event on their Facebook page, Hold the Line. That is how I found out about their rally, not just last weekend, but the 2 previous weekends as well.
Did the masked man have a gun at all?
Yes, the gentleman with the mask did have a gun. He had a larger weapon strapped underneath his backpack. I do believe that to be an AK-47, as well as a smaller handgun that was strapped to the back that was more visibly seen when he turned around.
Okay, did the police intervene and say, hey, you can be here?
Police were at the state capitol, heavy presence of police. I was in earshot and eye distance of police. They did nothing to come down and quell the situation, though they saw that I was being confronted by this gentleman with the gun, these two ladies with handguns, plus this older gentleman asking me what I was doing there and being told that I was not welcome, even though I identified myself as a voter taking interest in what these group of voters were talking about.
Okay, so what do you think the future of Minnesota is if the Hold the Line and Stop the Steal groups continue to privatize the state capitol and turn away black voters?
If that continues to happen, what this turns out to be is state-funded property held only for KKK rallies. The Proud Boys are a known institutionalized group of racist white supremacists who, again, as seen in my live video, turned me away, not due to the fact of me being a voter, but me being a black voter, a voter of color. That type of ideology has been shared in past weekends there as well.
Okay, and Andre, where can people find your live stream?
My live feeds can be found at Andre Friedman Senior, my Facebook page. You can look me up. Please feel free to add me. And if you do have any questions, please do not hesitate to get in contact with me. Kind regards.
Thank you so much, and we wish you the best of luck and safety at the next action. Well, that'll do it for us on Thursday, December 24th, 2020. Only 7 more days of this year, y'all. Hopefully, as we turn the page, it doesn't turn to December 32nd, 2020. Fingers crossed. All right, as we continue forward, thank you so much for your support. Please, we encourage everybody that's watching this to become a monthly member of On-Site Below. For $10 and up a month, you can get your choice of a mug or any prints that we make, which we seemingly are making every 2 weeks. We're putting out an 18 by 24 print. We'll make them a little smaller because not everybody's a fan of those big old posters. All right, what's coming up in the city for the next few days are, well, the holidays. And on Sunday, there's going to be a toy drive at Bryant Square Park from noon to 3. That is a toy drive at Bryant Square Park from noon to 3. So during that time, you can bring any toy, and we're going to be delivering it to other families that couldn't afford toys or can't afford toys, and we'll hopefully get those into the hands of kids down the line. Also on Sunday from noon to 3 is another camera drive. Thank you so much to everybody that's turned in their used cameras. We have made videos for at least half of the cameras we've gotten. We did not anticipate to get as many as we did. There are over 30, and we have a lot of work ahead of us to do. So we're making videos for every single camera that we receive, for every brand of camera that we receive, and then we turn them back to BIPOC youth and filmmakers of color. So from noon to 3 this Sunday, that is December 27th, at Bryant Square Park, we'll be receiving used cameras and we'll be making videos with them, tutorial videos, and then turning them back to BIPOC youth and black filmmakers. Thank you so much for watching. We hope that you become a member. Oh my goodness, or just share this. 2020, this is the last episode of this forsaken year. We'll see you in the next one. It's a blizzard. I'm going to bed.